வாருங்கள் நேயர்களே, பட்ஜெட் குறித்த சிறப்பு வாத நிகழ்ச்சி இது. இதில் இப்போது நம்ம விருந்தினர்கள்கிட்ட பேசலாம். சார், இப்போ வைத்தீஸ்வரன் சார் உங்ககிட்ட கேட்க விரும்புகிறேன். இந்த மோடி பதவி ஏற்றதுக்கு அப்புறம் 3 முக்கிய திட்டங்கள் இந்தியா கான்டெக்ஸ்டாக வச்சு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. தூய்மையான இந்தியா,
economic environment. When other countries are facing serious challenges, India is about to take off on a faster growth trajectory once again. The International Monetary Fund has downgraded its earlier forecast of the global economic growth by 0.3%, and the World Trade Organization has revised its forecast of the world trade growth from 5.3 to 4%. Forecasts for India, however, have either been upgraded or remained the same without downgrades. Madam Speaker, we have also embraced the states as equal partners in the process of economic growth. States have been economically empowered more than ever before. It is my belief that every rupee of public expenditure, whether undertaken by the centre or the states, will contribute to the betterment of the people's life through job creation, poverty elimination, and economic growth. In the last 9 months, the NDA government headed by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has undertaken several significant steps to energize the economy. The credibility of the Indian economy has been re-established. The world is predicting that it is India's chance to fly. कुछ तो फूल खिलाए हमने और कुछ फूल खिलाने हैं. मुश्किल ये है बाग में अब तक कांटे कई पुराने हैं. Though the union budget is essentially a statement of account of public finances, it has historically become a significant opportunity to indicate the direction and pace of India's economic policy. My proposals, therefore, lay down the roadmap for accelerating growth, enhancing investment, and passing on the benefit of growth process to the common man, woman, youth, and child, those whose quality of life needs to be improved. This is the path we will doggedly and relentlessly pursue. As the Prime Minister has often said, we are a round-the-clock, round-the-year government. Madam, allow me to describe the changes of the Indian economy since we first took office. In November 2012, CPI inflation stood at 11.2%. The current account deficit by the first quarter of 2013-14 had reached 4.6% of GDP, and the normal foreign exchange flows until March 2014 were 15 billion US. We inherited a sentiment of, if I may say so, doom and gloom, and the investor community had almost written us off. We have come a long way since then. The latest CPI inflation is 5.1%, and the wholesale price inflation is negative. The current account deficit for the year is expected to be below 1.3% of GDP based on the new series. The real GDP growth is expected to accelerate to 7.4%, making India the fastest growing large economy in the world. Foreign inflows since April 2014 have been about 55 billion US, so that our foreign exchange reserves have increased to a record of 340 billion. The rupee has become stronger by 6.4% against a broad basket of currencies, and ours is the second best performing stock market amongst the major economies. In short, Madam Speaker, we have turned around the economy, dramatically restoring macroeconomic stability and creating conditions for sustainable poverty elimination, job creation, durable double-digit economic growth. Domestic and international investors are seeing us with renewed interest and hope. While being mindful of the challenges, Madam Speaker, this gives us reason to feel optimistic. With all humility at my command, I submit that this opportunity has arisen because we have created it. The people of India have voted resoundingly for quick change, faster growth, highest levels of transparency. They wanted the scam, scandal, corruption Raj to end. They wanted a government in which they can trust. We have lived up to that trust. Our actions have not only been confined to the core or the macroeconomic areas alone. Illustratively, action has been taken with regard to allocation of natural resources, financial inclusion, health and hygiene of the common man, girls and their education, employment for the youth, improved and non-adversarial tax administration, effective delivery of benefits, investment and job creation, welfare of labor, agricultural productivity and increasing farm incomes, power digital connectivity, skilling our youth, efficient and better work culture in our government, ease of doing business, mainstreaming northeastern states, and reviving our pride in the nation and culture. I am giving the details in an annexure to this speech. Madam Speaker, of the work that we have done, I would like to talk of 3 achievements as they demonstrate the quality and conviction of our government. One is the success of the Jan Dhan Yojana. Financial inclusion has been talked about for decades now. Who would have thought that in a short span of 100 days, over 12.5 crore families could have been brought into the financial mainstream? The other is coal auctions. Earlier, the states only got benefit of royalty. Now, by transparent auction process that we are carrying out, the coal-bearing states will be getting several lakhs of crores of rupees, which they can use for the creation of long-awaited community assets and the welfare of their people. The third is Swachh Bharat, which we have been able to transform into a movement to regenerate India. I can speak of, for example, the 50 lakh toilets already constructed in 14-15, and I can assure the members of this august house that we will indeed attain the target of building 6 crore toilets. But Madam, Swachh Bharat is not a program of hygiene and cleanliness, but at a deeper level a program of preventive health care and building awareness. We have now embarked on 2 more game-changing reforms: GST and what the Economic Survey has called the JMAM Trinity, Janadhan Aadhaar Mobile, to implement the direct transfer of benefits. GST will put in place a state-of-art indirect tax system by 1st April 2016. The JAM Trinity will allow us to transfer benefits in a leakage-proof, well-targeted, cashless manner. Madam Speaker, one of the achievements of my government has been to conquer inflation. This decline, in my view, represents a structural shift. Going forward, we expect the CPI inflation to remain close to 5% by the end of the year. This will allow further easing of monetary policy. To ensure that our victory over inflation is institutionalized and hence continues, we have concluded a monetary policy framework agreement with the Reserve Bank of India, and as I had promised in my budget speech 14-15. This framework clearly states objective of keeping inflation below 6%. We will move to amend the RBI Act this year and provide for a monetary policy committee. The Central Statistics Office has recently released a new series of GDP which involves a number of changes relative to the old series. Based on the new series, estimated GDP for 14-15 is 7.4%. Growth in 2015-16 is expected to be between 8 and 8.5%. Aiming for a double-digit rate seems feasible very soon. I will now come to the task ahead of us. In respect of social and economic indicators for decades, now we have worked in terms of percentages and numbers of beneficiaries covered. It is quite obvious that incremental change is not going to take us anywhere. We have to think in terms of a quantum jump. The year 2022 will be the Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th year of India's independence. The vision of what the Prime Minister has called Team India, led by the states and guided by the central government, should include a roof for each family in India. The call given for housing for all by 2022 would require Team India to complete 2 crore houses in urban areas and 4 crore houses in rural India. Each house in the country should have basic facilities of a 24-hour power supply, clean drinking water, a toilet, and be connected to a road. At least one member of each family should have access to means of livelihood and employment or economic opportunity to improve his or her lot. Substantial reduction of poverty. All our schemes should focus on and center around the poor. Each of us has to commit ourselves to this task of eliminating absolute poverty. Electrification by 2020 of the remaining 20,000 villages in the country, including the off-grid solar power generation. Connecting each of the 178,000 unconnected habitations by all-weather roads. This will require completing 1 lakh kilometers of roads currently under construction, plus sanctioning and building another 1 lakh kilometers of road. Good health is a necessity for both quality of life and a person's productivity and ability to support his or her family. Providing medical facilities in each village and city is absolutely essential. Educating and skilling our youth to enable them to get employment is the altar before which we must bow. To ensure that there is a senior secondary school within 5-kilometer reach of each child, we need to upgrade 80,000 secondary schools and add or upgrade 75,000 junior middle to the senior secondary level. We have also to ensure that education improves in terms of quality and learning outcomes. Increase in agricultural productivity and realization of reasonable prices of agricultural production is essential for the welfare of rural people. We should commit to increasing the irrigated area, improving efficiency of existing irrigation schemes, promoting agro-based industries and value addition, and increasing farm incomes and reasonable prices for farm produce. In terms of communication, the rural-urban divide should no longer be acceptable to us. We have to ensure connectivity to all villages without it. 2/3 of our population is below 35. To ensure that our young get proper jobs, we have to aim to make India the manufacturing hub of the world. The Skill India and the Make in India programs are aimed at doing this. We have also to encourage the growth and grow the spirit of entrepreneurship in India and support the new startups. Thus can our youth turn into being from job seekers to job creators. The eastern and northeastern regions of our country are lagging behind in development on many fronts. We need to ensure that they are at par with the rest of the economy. By the time the 75th year of India's independence, Amrit Mahotsav of our independence is reached, we have to achieve all the above so that India can become a prosperous country and a responsible global power. This will be our true and meaningful tribute to our freedom fighters. As I have said earlier, Madam Speaker, I am also mindful of the 5 challenges I have to reckon with. Firstly, agricultural incomes are under stress. Our second challenge is increasing investment in infrastructure. With private investment in infrastructure via public-private partnership model still weak, public investment needs to step in to catalyze investment. Our third challenge is that manufacturing has declined from 18% to 17% of GDP, and as per the new GDP data, the manufacturing exports have remained stagnant at about 10% of the GDP. The Make in India program is aimed at making this challenge, thus of creating jobs. Fourth, we have to be mindful of the need for fiscal discipline in spite of rising demands of public investment. In keeping with the true spirit of cooperative federalism, we have devolved a 42% share of the divisible pool of taxes to the states. As members of this august House are aware, this is an unprecedented increase which would empower the states with more resources. The devolution of the states would be to the order of 5.24 lakh crores in 15-16 as against a devolution of 3.38 lakh crores as per the revised estimates of 14-15. Another 3.04 lakh crores would be transferred by way of grants, plans and transfers. Thus, the total transfer to the states will be about 62% of the total receipts of the country. अगर केंद्र और राज्यों का टैक्स रेवेन्यू जोड़ लिया जाए तो अब 62% राज्यों के पास होगा, 38% केंद्र के पास होगा. In spite of the consequential reduced fiscal space for the centre, the government has decided to continue to supporting important national priorities such as agriculture, education, health, Manrega, rural infrastructure, including roads program targeted for the poor and underprivileged, which will be all continued by us. With the fiscal space not just reduced but squeezed, I have to meet the fifth challenge of maintaining the fiscal discipline. Economic growth this year at 11.5% is lower in nominal terms by about 2% due to lower inflation. Consequently, tax buoyancy was also significantly lower. Despite this, Madam, I have kept my word and will meet the challenging fiscal target of 4.1% of the GDP which we had inherited. Madam Speaker, I need to overcome these challenges to reduce and eliminate poverty. I want to underscore that my government still remains firm on achieving the medium-term target of 3% of the GDP. This is the fiscal target. But the journey has to take into account the need for increasing public investment. The total additional public investment over and above the RE is planned at rupees 1.25 lakh crores, of which rupees 70,000 crore would be the capital expenditure from the budgetary outlays. We have to take into account the drastically reduced fiscal space, uncertainties in the implementation of the GST will create, and the likely burden of the report of the 7th Pay Commission. Rushing into or insisting on a preset timetable for fiscal consolidation pro-cyclically would, in my opinion, not be pro-growth. With economy improving, the pressure for accelerated fiscal consolidation too has decreased. In these circumstances, I will complete the journey to a fiscal deficit of 3% in 3 years rather than 2 years as envisaged previously. Thus, the next 3 years, my targets are 3.9% for 15-16, 3.5% for 16-17, and 3% for 17-18. The additional fiscal space will go towards funding infrastructure investment. I will be moving amendments accordingly in the Finance Bill to the FRBM Act. Madam Speaker, I want to round up the discussion on fiscal roadmap in an optimistic tone. While there is a compositional shift, the aggregate envelope for job creation, poverty elimination, and building infrastructure is not disturbed. In fact, it goes up this year and every subsequent year in the same proportion as tax revenues of the Union and the state governments increase. From this national perspective of public finances, not only is the path of fiscal consolidation on track, aggregate annual capital expenditure of the government as a whole can be expected to rise significantly by more than 0.5% of the GDP.
Yes, आप अगर बैठ के भी ये करना चाहे तो you can.
Thank you, madam. Yeah. As I need it, I'll certainly request you, madam. Okay. Thank you. Aapka dhanyawad. Madam Speaker, it may be noted that the budget reflects considerable scaling up of the disinvestment figures. This will include both disinvestment in loss-making units and some strategic disinvestments. Madam Speaker, this government is committed in its resolve as Indians to regain our preeminence as just and compassionate society. Well-intentioned schemes introduced in the past have often been ill-targeted, riddled with leakages, and delivered with inefficiency. The same is true of subsidies. Subsidies are needed for the poor and those less well-off. What we need is a well-targeted system of subsidy delivery. We need to cut subsidy leakage, not subsidies themselves. We are committed to the process of rationalizing subsidies based on this approach. We have embarked on that path. the direct transfer of benefits, started mostly in scholarship schemes, will be further expanded with a view to increasing the number of beneficiaries from the present 1 crore to 10.3 crores. Similarly, rupees 6,335 crore has so far been transferred directly as LPG subsidy to 11.5 crore LPG customers. I am sure these persons who are better off, such as the top tax bracket, and those who are generally concerned with the poor and the welfare of the poor, such as members of this House, will give up their LPG subsidy voluntarily. I'll continue.
Yes, you can.
Our commitment to farmers runs deep. We have already taken major steps to address two major factors critical to the agricultural production: soil and water. An ambitious soil health card has been launched to improve the soil fertility on a sustainable basis. In order to improve soil health, I propose to support Agricultural Ministry's organic farm scheme, Paramparagagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Gram Sinchai Yojana is aimed at irrigating the field of every farmer and improving the water usage efficiency to provide per drop more crop. I am allocating rupees 5,300 crores to support micro-irrigation watershed programs and Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. I urge the states to chip in substantially in this vital sector. To support agriculture sector with the help of effective and hassle-free agricultural credit with special focus on small and marginal farmers, I propose to allocate rupees 25,000 crores in 15-16 to the corpus of Rural Infrastructure Development Fund set up by NABARD, 15,000 crores for long-term rural credit fund, 45,000 crore for short-term cooperative rural credit refinance fund, and 15,000 crores for short-term RRB refinance fund. Farm credit underpins the efforts of our hard-working farmers. I have therefore set up an ambitious target of rupees 8.5 lakh crores of credit during the year 15-16, which I am sure the banks will surpass. Our government is committed to supporting employment through Manrega. We will ensure that no one who is poor is left without employment. We will focus on improving the quality and effectiveness of activities under Manrega. I have made an initial allocation of rupees 34,699 crores for this program. While the farmer is no longer in the clutches of the local trader, his produce still does not command the best notional price. To increase incomes of farmers, it is felt that we create a national agricultural market which will have incidental benefit of moderating prices. I intend this year to work in the states in NITI for the creation of a unified national agricultural market. Madam Speaker, our government firmly believes that development has to generate inclusive growth. While large corporate and business entities have a role to play, this has to be complemented by informal sectors, enterprises which generate maximum employment. There are 5 crore 77 lakh small business units, mostly individual proprietorships, which run small manufacturing, trading and business service businesses. 62% of these are owned by SC, STs and OBCs. These bottom of the pyramid hard-working entrepreneurs find it difficult, if not impossible, to access formal systems of credit. I therefore propose to create a micro units development refinance agency, Mudra Bank, with a corpus of 20,000 crores and credit guarantee corpus of 3,000 crores. The Mudra Bank will refinance microfinance institutions through a Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. In lending, priority will be given to SC, ST enterprises. These measures will will greatly increase the confidence of our young, educated or skilled workers who would now be able to become the first generation entrepreneurs. Existing small businesses too will be able to expand their activities. Just as we are banking the unbanked, we are also funding the unfunded. A significant part of the working capital requirement of the MSME arises due to long receivables in the realization cycle. We are in the process of establishing an electronic trade receivable discounting system, financing of trade receivables of MSMEs from corporates to other buyers through multiple financiers. This should improve the liquidity in the MSME sector significantly. Bankruptcy law reform that bring about a legal certainty and speed has been identified as a key priority for improving the ease of doing business. SICA and BIFR have failed to achieve these objectives. We will bring a comprehensive bankruptcy code in the year 2015-16 that will meet global standards and provide for judicial capacity. The government is committed to increase access of the people to formal financial system. In this context, the government proposes to utilize the vast postal network with nearly 1,54,000 points of presence spread across villages of the country. I hope the postal department will make its proposed payments bank venture successful so that it contributes to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. सारे पोस्ट ऑफिसेज इससे बैंकिंग काम के अंदर इन्वॉल्व कर लिए जाएंगे. To bring about parity in regulation of non-banking financial companies with other financial institutions in matters relating to recovery, it is proposed that NBFCs registered with RBI having a size of rupees 500 crores and above will be considered as financial institution in terms of the Sarfasi Act. A large portion of India's population is without insurance of any kind, health, accident or life. Worryingly, our young population ages, it also is going to be pensionless. Encouraged by the success of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, I propose to work towards creating a universal social security system for all Indians, especially the poor and unprivileged. The soon to be launched Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana will cover accident death risk of rupees 2 lakhs for a premium of just rupees 12 per year. मैडम, 1 रुपया महीना जो जनधन खाते से ट्रांसफर होगा उससे 2 लाख की एक्सीडेंट इंश्योरेंस हर गरीब आदमी को मिलेगी. Similarly, we will also launch the Atal Pension Yojana, which will provide a defined pension depending on the contribution and its period. To encourage people to join this scheme, government will contribute 50% of the beneficiaries' premium, limited to rupees 1,000 each year for the 5 years in its new accounts opened before 31st December 2015. इसकी डिटेल्स आज सार्वजनिक की जाएंगी. हर महीने कोई गरीब आदमी कंट्रीब्यूट करे, उसमें से आधा सरकार देगी और 60 साल की उम्र से उसको पेंशन मिलनी आरंभ होगी. The third social security scheme I wish to announce is the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, which will cover the natural and accidental death risk of rupees 2 lakhs. The premium will be rupees 330 per year or less than rupee 1 per day for the age group 18 to 50. Madam, there are unclaimed deposits of 3,000 crores in PPF and approximately 6,000 crores in EPF corpus. I have proposed to create a senior citizens welfare fund in the finance bill for appropriation of these amounts to a corpus which will subsidize the premiums of the vulnerable groups such as old age pensioners, BPL cardholders, small and marginal farmers and others. A detailed scheme would be issued in March this year. Madam Speaker, with regard to the needs and the population of senior citizens in the country, which is now approximately 10.5 crores, out of which over 1 crore are above the age of 80, 70% live in rural areas and a large number are in the BPL category. A sizable percentage of them suffer from age-related disabilities. Ours is a society that venerates its elders. I therefore propose a new scheme for providing physical aids and assisted living devices for senior citizens living below the poverty line. In sum, these social security schemes reflect our commitment to utilize the Jan Dhan platform to ensure that no Indian citizen will have to worry about illness, accidents or penury in old age. Being sensitive to the needs of the poor and underprivileged and the disadvantaged, the government also remains committed to the ongoing welfare schemes of the SCs, STs and women. Despite serious constraints on union finances, allocations this year have been made as follows. SCs 30,851 crores, STs 19,980 crores, women 79,258 crores. An integrated education and livelihood scheme called Nai Manzil will be launched this year to enable minority youth who do not have formal school leaving certificate to obtain one and find a better employment. Further, to show cause civilizational and culture of the Parsis, the Government of India will support in 2015-16 an exhibition, The Everlasting Flame. The allocation of the Ministry of Minority Affairs is being protected. The BE for the year 2015-16 is 3738 crores. Infrastructure. Madam, this is no secret that the major slippage in the last decade has been on the infrastructure front. Our infrastructure does not match our growth ambitions. There is a pressing need to increase public investment. I have therefore increased outlays on both roads and gross budgetary support to the railways by 14,031 and rupees 10,050 crores respectively. The capex of public sector units is expected to be 3,17,889 crores, an increase of approximately 80,844 crores over last year. In fact, all told, investment in infrastructure will go up by 70,000 crores in the year 15-16 over 14-15 from the Centre's fund and resources of the CPSCs. But madam, we need much more investment than adding 70,000 crores more. Secondly, I intend to establish a national investment and infrastructure fund, which finds monies to ensure an annual flow of 20,000 crores to it. 20,000 is what the government will be giving. This will enable the trust to raise debt in terms, invest as equity in infrastructure finance companies like the IRFC and the NHB. The infrastructure finance companies can then leverage this extra equity many folds. Thirdly, I also intend to permit tax-free infrastructure bonds for projects in rail, road and irrigation. Fourthly, PPP model of infrastructure development has to be revisited and revitalized. The major issue involved in rebalancing of risk in infrastructure projects, the sovereign will have to bear a major part of the risk without, of course, absorbing it entirely. Fifth, I intend to establish in NITI an Atal Innovation Mission. AIM will be an innovation promotion platform involving academics, entrepreneurs, researchers, and draw upon national and international experiences to foster a culture of innovation, R&D and scientific research. The platform will also provide a network of world-class hubs and grand challenges for India. The initial sum of rupees 150 crore will be earmarked for this purpose. India has a well-regarded world-class IT industry with revenues of US 150 billion, over 100 billion exports, employing nearly 40 lakh people directly. We are now seeing a growing interest in startups, experimenting in cutting-edge technologies, creating value out of ideas, initiatives, and converting them into scalable enterprises and businesses is at the core of our strategy for engaging our youth for inclusive and sustainable growth of the country. Concerns such as more liberal system of raising global capital, incubation facilities in our centers of excellence, funding for seed capital, and growth of the ease of doing business need to be addressed to create 1 lakh jobs and hundreds of billions of dollars in value. With this objective, the government is establishing a mechanism known as Self-Employment and Talent Utilization (SETU) to be Techno-Financial Incubation and Facilitation Program to support all aspects of startup businesses and other self-employment activities, particularly in the technology-driven areas. I am setting aside 1,000 crores initially for this purpose. As the cess of the so-called minor ports has shown,